Welcome to a new episode of The Graft, and the following is a conversation with Arina Martynchyk, MD, PhD, and Research Associate at the Department of Oncohematology, National Cancer Institute, Kiev, Ukraine. We talk about her way into transplant, developments over recent years, and the current situation in Ukraine. This was a hand-wringing conversation with a brave and open-hearted, respectful physician, and we thank her for her precious time.
Yeah, it's quite calm and quiet today, so I hope I have time.
Yeah, should we just start that you talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you work? Yeah, just a little bit of background.
Okay. I work as a doctor oncologist and hematologist in the National Cancer Institute in Kiev, Ukraine. I work since 2007. My first specialty was oncology, and then the second one, hematology. We started to do bone marrow transplant in our institute on the autologous since 2016. And since that time, we have performed more than 100 autologous stem cell transplants. So now this is my main focus of interest, bone marrow transplant. We're going to start allogenic as well at the end of this year. That were our plans.
So you never did an allogenic stem cell transplant before? Okay. No. Is there currently a center in Ukraine who does allogenic transplants?
Yeah, they started last year. There are now 2 centers for adults and 1 center who perform it for children.
Okay. And you trained also in Kiev, or where you're currently located, or what is your university background? Where did you go to med school?
Yeah, I finished National Medical University in Kiev, Ukraine, but also trained through different fellowship. The main one, I think, this is fellowship in Chicago in bone marrow transplant department with Damiano Rondelli, who is capable for bone marrow transplant trainers throughout the world. He set up allogenic transplant in Nepal and tried to set up it here in Ukraine and in other developing countries.
And how long is a usual educational program in med school? Is it 6 years also in Ukraine, or?
Yeah, it's 6 years of university and then 2 or 3 years of internship.
Okay, and then you already specialize yourself in hematology.
Yeah.
Okay. And throughout Ukraine, how many oncology centers are there? Is this possible to measure? Or?
I think there is 1 or 2 oncological centers in each region of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there are a lot.
And you said you have been to the US. For how long have you been there?
2 months.
2 months, okay. But it was never an option to really stay there or stay abroad to specialize yourself and work there. You always wanted to work in Ukraine and stay there.
Of course, there was chances, but here in Ukraine, we had a lot of possibilities and space for development, because a lot of work need to be done up to this time and in nearest future. So here, I think that chances for developing and for doing something really useful here were much higher than to go somewhere abroad and start from the 0 point.
And why did you choose hematology oncology?
It was attractive specialty because it quickly developing, a lot of new drugs coming out, and there are high chances of cure for a lot of patients. I don't know, I like it from the very beginning.
Okay. And what is the what is the current way in Ukraine? So if you're in an internship, you usually stay in the hospital, or is there also a possibility to work like in an ambulatory setting, have your own practice, or is the main choice for physicians in Ukraine to work in a hospital? Or what does the healthcare system look like in Ukraine?
During internship, we have different phases of internship. Some period there are only lectures and theoretical part, and the other period of internship is practicing in hospital. It can be one hospital, one department, or if student wants, they can choose several hospitals, several departments, and rotate between them.
Mm-hmm. And the usual care of patients happens in hospitals, or how does the healthcare system work? So are there like general physicians, family physicians also, or is it like a main focus? If you're ill, you go to the hospital and you get your care there, or is there like a decentralized system as we have in Central Europe, or what does the healthcare system look like?
Yeah, of course, the patients have family doctors, general physicians. They go to them first. This is outpatient care in every district of city, or if it's out city, so in the region, close to several villages, for example. And then if they need another type of care, they receive a direction from the general physician or family physician and go to hospital. And we also have outpatients and inpatients department. So it depends on what patients need.
Mm-hmm. And I suspect there is a huge difference between the cities and the rural areas in the land in the center of Ukraine.
Yeah, of course, there is a
Okay.
difference. Yeah, it's difficult to find a doctor and to give to this doctor everything he needs in rural areas. So almost nobody wants to work there. It's sometimes difficult to find doctor there. Yeah.
And the insurance system, is that state funded, or is that mainly private insurances for healthcare?
We don't have obligatory or widespread system of insurance. Medicine is declared free of charge in Constitution, but in fact it's very expensive, and patients need to pay out of pocket for a lot of things. Now situation is a little bit better for last several years, and government really buy expensive drugs that patients need for hospitals, and then hospital distribute them among patients. But still a lot of things patients need to pay out of pocket. And there is a wide system of private clinics, but their patients need to pay for everything, but only it's officially.
And so patients for an autologous transplant, for instance, they pay it out of the pocket.
It was like that 1 year before, but since last spring, I think, we have like contract with our national health system, and they now pay for each transplant. So for the last year, patients do not need to pay out of pocket.
And I believe your main indication for transplant is myeloma then for autologous, or?
Myeloma and relapse or refractory lymphoma patients.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And for how long can you keep the patients in the hospital? Is there like a period like 2 weeks?
Yeah, usually it's like 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And do you do the conditioning outpatient? Or is that all people are admitted for everything and then leave the hospital?
People are admitted for everything, and we do everything inpatient.
Okay, all right. And you, I'm sorry that I maybe didn't get it, but you're originally from Kiev?
Yeah, from Kiev.
And your parents also?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on maybe in general development in Ukraine over the last, let's say, maybe as long as you've been in the clinic, what you experienced, because you said that some structures, some possibilities improved over the last years. Can you maybe elaborate a bit on that, how the system looked like when you started, how it evolved, and then obviously we will come to the situation right now.
Okay, I'll try. I think when I started, for example, like very good example, rituximab wasn't available for patients for free. They need to pay for out of pocket for it, and it was extremely expensive, and only single patients could afford this drug. And then in several years now, government buy a lot of rituximab, and all patients get rituximab if it is indicated. And the same about other expensive drugs like bortezomib for multiple myeloma and so on. But a lot of novel drugs are not still are not available in Ukraine. For example, immunotherapy like Keytruda, it's registered here in Ukraine, but it's extremely expensive, and almost nobody can afford it because it's like lifelong or several years treatment, and it is very expensive. And that's why for our patients who relapse or refractory after autologous stem cell transplant, better options is to receive allogeneic transplant, not immunotherapy, because they can go abroad to Turkey mostly, and government pay for this. But during the last year, 2 centers in Ukraine started to allogenic transplant, and it's also fully covered by government. So I hope this direction also will develop and will get better.
Well, it's quite interesting. I think that needs to be stressed because we usually think of medicine as basically, yeah, it's happening somehow like everywhere else. But if you then hear it, for instance, that people in your center cannot, or that you need to balance between allogenic transplant and immunotherapy. And for instance, in the US or Europe, it's always okay. Allogenic transplant is completely out of the picture in most centers. And we just give the immunotherapies because, I don't know, it's somehow not that expensive or that dangerous in that discussion, and that your patients then they choose that and travel to Turkey. I never thought of that this is quite the strategy for you. This is really interesting. Do you also have then the problem that because in myeloma after auto everyone receives lenalidomide? What is the situation in
Actually, we are happy to have free lenalidomide free of charge, and we can do also VRD in first line. So everything. With these questions, we are quite happy. And the same situation was several years ago, first-line treatment of Hodgkin lymphoma, when autologous transplant was not widely available in Ukraine. There was only one center who performed this procedure. So we preferred BioCop escalated to ABVD because relapse rate was lower. But now in Ukraine, there are 5 centers who perform autologous stem cell for adult patients, and I think these numbers also will increase during the time.
And I believe, because you just mentioned Hodgkin lymphoma, that the checkpoint inhibitors, are they available in Ukraine, which are now entering Hodgkin lymphoma strategies?
Checkpoints inhibitor are available, but very expensive.
And do people also travel for allo in Hodgkin lymphoma to Turkey? Yeah. Okay, all right. And but you basically said that the recent development is a general improvement of your healthcare system. There, you said that centers evolved and now plan to establish allogenic transplant. What is the current state now, if you can say so? What so? Yeah.
Of our institute.
Yeah.
We are preparing for allogenic. We have some problems still due to not enough number of staff in our hospital. We need to train our nurses, doctors. We need sophisticated laboratory, and it is in progress now. Then we have a lot of problem, and we were trying to cope with that for the last months. So I think we are almost ready, but now with all these events, I don't know when we can proceed to this.
How many physicians are in your department?
We have Department of Hematology and Department of Bone Marrow Transplant. In Bone Marrow Transplant Department, there are 3 physicians and 5 nurses. So, and we have 4 patients room.
Okay. And what is the situation regarding, because you said you need trainees, young physicians? Is there, okay, everything obviously will change and we'll come to that, but over the last years, did you always have problems with trainees, with the younger generation, or was there like abundance of med students?
There are a lot of med students who wants to continue in our department, and there are a lot of students now who come and help to do something, and then they learn to do some procedures and everything, and after finishing the university they can join our team. But I mean also training, like not in our hospital but somewhere abroad, and now the training of doctors is not as important as training of nurses. And our idea was to start maybe training of nurses not in a children's hospital who perform allogenic transplant. And since March, first nurses were going to join the team, but now plans changed.
And I think it's quite important to say that, because here in Germany it's always the same discussion that and maybe it doesn't get really the focus that in many instances nurses are the problem and not the physicians. Because physicians you always find someone who is interested, but nurses, it's always a big discussion also in our hospital as well. Yeah, that's yeah. And let me just straightforwardly ask it without any flowers around it. What is the situation now?
Okay, when the war started, we had 3 patients in bone marrow department, and one of the patients was at day 0 of transplant, so she got melphalan the day before, and all they stayed in hospitals, and also doctors, we stayed with the patients. And because some of doctors live on other bank of the Dnieper River and quite far from hospital, we decided to stay here like all the days and nights. We felt like more safely here. Yeah, and I think we now have a very good team here. We sent 2 of 3 patients home, recovered. And now we have only 1 patient, but she is also recovering. I hope she will join that patient soon.
And so you're basically now living in the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 10th day.
Do you have family?
Yeah, my husband and my 8-year daughter, they left to the Western Ukraine.
Okay.
And are waiting for me there.
Okay. But you're not planning to move there, or what's the plan?
I don't know. The plan for now is to recover our last patients without major complications, and then I will decide what to do. It depends on the situation. Our hospital plan was planned to transfer into military hospital if there is a need. Up to now, there is no need for that, but we don't know what will be tomorrow.
Okay. And is there any, if you can say that, is there any plans for new admissions? Is that even possible now, treating new patients, or is that all stopped now?
It's impossible because we don't have macrobiology available. We have some problems with blood testing. We have problems with like staying of patients because we go to the basement several times a week, and all patients are in one shelter. Our neutropenic patients and someone with from our other departments and doctors and nurses. It's very dangerous. We had serious catheter associated infection in one of our patients because the hygiene is really very poor. Now we try to maintain the level, but it's really difficult. And when our patient received her stem cells, it was a rare serine, and we were forced to go to the basement with the cells. So the infusion was performed literally in the basement, in the shelter. And that's about all infusion. When patients receive some antibiotics or someone and sirens or alarm is on, we need to go to basement, and it's difficult to disconnect patients or to go with these solutions. It's kind of challenge.
The challenge is a tough word for that. Okay, but but all the patients now are alive. They are well. They did well over the last days. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and also the central venous catheter infection was managed and able.
Managed.
Okay. And what about resources? Are you also like in need for antibiotics, or is that not that an issue at the moment?
At the moment, we're covered with drugs, and our administration and volunteers works in different directions. Some lists of drugs we are creating, and they send us like help. All these drugs, and the other direction, we are trying to send our patients abroad who is going to receive high-dose chemotherapy or who is on treatment for their lymphoma or myeloma. Now Poland and I think Germany as well, they received our patients and give them all treatment for free.
Okay, but what's the plan? What the plan is, you have no idea at the moment to say. Okay. What about your staff? What do you talk about it? What, because I imagine that in a scenario like this, there is like panic where people just say, okay, I'm not sure what I need to do, and if you, for instance, if you have to coordinate in such a team because you need to secure the administration of drugs, surveillance of the patients. What was that an issue? Did you talk about it when the war started? Okay, what should we do now? Or did you just like blankly said, okay, no discussion, obviously we stay here, but I imagine that wasn't that easy, right?
Yeah, it was everyone's decision. So we didn't push, and administrations and doctors who decided to stay, they told that it's your decision. We will support all of your decision, and there is no wrong decision. You can go. We told that family should be safe first, and then work moments, but almost the whole our department decided to stay. So.
which is a big deal. Wow. Okay. What would you say? What is at the moment the big question for you? So you said you know now you're waiting for the patients to leave the hospital, whatever that means. Where do they go to? What is like? Maybe that's silly from me to ask, but do you have any plans, or do you can like look for next 2 or even just one day? Okay, what should we do?
Do you mean how patients will get home, or?
Yeah, or do they just now stay in the hospital until the war is over, or?
No, patients decided to go home. Our patients live nearby Kiev, close to Kiev, and they stay in private houses, so not in the apartment in this high building. And we are connected with them through telephone, mobile phones. So, and I really do not have any plans. Maybe I'll go for a short period to the Western Ukraine to see my family. And maybe if I will be in use here in hospital, I could stay. I really don't know now. And maybe we win till this time and we'll celebrate our victory.
Was there any immediate danger to your hospital in any time, or?
Our hospital is happily in quite calm region. It's not a lot of bombing here, but another center of stem cell transplant in Kiev, they are in other part of Kiev, and they also have several patients, and they can hear all these bombs like every 10 minutes from the hospital. So our location for now is better, but we'll see what will be next.
And is there also any like shortage of any other resources? Like, what is the current situation with energy, food? Because we yesterday we received, a friend of mine received like an approach by the Ukrainians and Polish collaborators at the border that they would need some help with any kind of like resource, food, energy, whatever. And then we gathered and bought some, and then this cargo is now driving to the western of Ukraine. But what is the situation now in your area? Is that safe, and do you have enough at the moment, or?
Yeah, we have enough at the moment. Our administration tried to get more, some things for energy, and we have enough food. A lot of volunteers come to hospital and bring water and hot food, so we are okay with that. And actually shops and supermarkets works. Yeah, so we can go and buy something, but we are fine.
Yeah, it's quite if you can say that, nice to hear, because usually when you're that far away, like in Germany, and you try to follow the news, etc., you always obviously see like the real tragic or like real dangerous places where like supermarkets are empty and people ask for any help. But that's okay. There's at least a bit comfortable to hear that there are like safe spaces, if you can say that, in Kiev. Okay. And yeah, what would you wish for?
Of course, I wish victory. And yeah, it's really hard to believe that all that happens is the reality. because when we're here working and doing something, our institute also started to do one-day chemotherapy cycles, so outpatient therapy since last week. And when you are working, seeing patients, doing something, you like distract yourself from all this disaster. And only after work, you scroll again mobile phone with all this awful news, and it's terrifying. It's very awful.
And yeah, because you said, I think that's the most, the biggest tragedy for me, because obviously if something now happens you from abroad, you realize how less you knew or how little you knew about a country which is like two hours away with airport, by flight, and now you get to know this country a little bit, and you're it's quite disturbing, because you also said that everything was improving over the last years, right? And now this is all, yeah,
but I believe that if war finish, we will be much stronger, and the development process will be much quicker. I believe in this, because we are not the same that we were like 10 days ago, and our nation became more strong. So I think, and the help from all countries and from all the world, a lot of people, organization, and they support. We can feel their support a lot.
What is there anything you wish for? You would wish, or that we can do, or that any other help, let's say, because you want to do something, but you maybe you don't know really how or why, or what do you think is most needed at the moment? Or do you just say, okay, let me just do my job here and organize everything, and then, because as you mentioned, we just can offer our help, but if this help doesn't help you, if it's just for helping but not really does anything, that's also not really helping.
Thanks for asking, but I don't know what we need to, because drugs and everything, all other supplies, there are lists and volunteers, and our administration work with different organizations. They told that all this, they control this question. So I wish we could cooperate in future with EBMT. We like your organization, of course, and your conference and webinars. Maybe you can give us access to some webinars, because here, if we have quite hours, we try to listen to something, because just to distract ourselves and to not and give some food for our brains. So it would be really nice, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We installed for trainees, we have this e-learning platform, which is completely free to access at on the EBMT website. I can share this with you if you like.
Okay.
But sure. That's another thing that we from the trainee committee want to address, that because we believe that education needs to be free for everyone, and with your support, I think this message gets out a bit more easily. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'll just can say thank you very much for your time, for your precious time. And do you have anything other you want to say, or you want to highlight what you?
Thank you for this talk. It was very interesting. I just want to highlight that life can change completely in one day, and it could be a disaster for a lot of people. But I believe that our country will be stronger, and the development of all scientific fields and economical and others will get quicker, and I hope all this disaster will finish soon and we start to rebuild our country and our hematology, and at least we will do our first allogenic transplant in National Cancer Institute. So thanks for your support. We really can feel it. And
yeah, just let me know if we can do any other, if you need anything. But I'm sure that if we can do something, we will do it. And yeah, just let me know. And I wish you all the best, if I may say so. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at choosing those words. And yeah, I hope you can reunite with your family quite soon.
Thank you.
All the best to your patients. And it's really incredible that you brought these patients through these terrible days. And it's really, really astonishing work you did.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stay safe.
We'll try.
And hopefully speak to you soon.
Okay.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.